I'm now going to show you the basic technique. I've no idea why it's called that, and I think it's perhaps a little more difficult than the loops, but it's a technique that you'll be using to make individual leaves and individual petals. Now start out again with all the beads on the spool of wire and the knot at the end of the wire. This time you're going to slide the beads for your first row, in this case 3 beads, right up to the knot. And we're going to use a completely different technique to create the stem. So unravel a bit of wire. We're going to loop the wire around, and this loop is going to be what forms the stem. Now you need to make sure you've got a length of wire between the knot and where the loop is going to be twisted together, because this length of wire is what you're going to use to form the petal. So once you're happy you've got enough wire, you can cut some off if you've got too much, so err on the side of too much rather than too little. And you've got your loop in place, just hold your finger and thumb there, and it's easiest to twist the loop by putting your whole hand inside it and just twisting round. You can do this quite a few times because it's going to be disguised under the petal, so I've done 4 or 5. You've got that length of twist and it's not going to go anywhere. Now the next step, get ready to start adding your next rows. You want the loop to be sitting downwards, the wire with the beads on it upwards, and the wire going towards the spool at a 90-degree angle. Now the second row is formed by sliding the beads along. The pattern will tell you how many, but in this case I'm using 5. Take them right up to the top of the loop and wrap them up the right hand side of your first row. Now wrap that wire round your top wire so it's gone all the way round, and it's now extending at a 90-degree angle from the other side. Turn it round the other way and we're going to do exactly the same thing to create row 3. So I'm taking 5 beads along, I'm going to sit them down the other side of the first row, and I'm going to wrap the wire over the top, round underneath, round back and over the top. And we're back in exactly the same position as we started. You're just going to keep on adding rows this way until you've got as many as you need to. But the nice thing about this technique is that you can use it to create different shapes of petals. So you can see I've been wrapping the wire at a 90-degree angle and I'm getting quite a rounded shape to this petal. If for the next row I use slightly more beads, so I've taken 10 along and I'm going to place it up, and I'm going to wrap at more like a 45-degree angle, so you can see the top wire is sitting up straight and this wire is crossing over at a diagonal. I'm going to wrap it round and then down the other side so it sits at a diagonal angle again rather than the 90-degree angle, and again I'll use 10 beads. But this time I'm going to keep the rounded bottom, so I'm going to wrap it again at a 90-degree angle. Now you can make a pointed top as well, in which case you'd wrap it at the angle, and this is what you'll be doing when you make the lily flowers. If I add in 1 more row on each side, I'll use 15 beads for this one this time, you can see that the petal is going to become a little bit more pronounced. And again I'm going to wrap at a 90-degree angle down the bottom. Now with this technique you're going to need to keep shaping the petals as you work, so make sure that your loop keeps hanging down straight and make sure that you shape the top so we've got a nice little point. Now let's imagine that we've finished that petal, and in order to finish off I'm first of all going to cut the wire from the spool. Now the length at which I cut will be roughly the same length as the loop to form the stem. I'm just going to knot the wire on the spool to stop the beads falling off it, and I'm going to just trim the end of the loop so that it becomes 3 straight wires, and with the top I'm going to cut the wire just about half a centimetre or so above the top of the petal, and I'm going to fold it down the back. Make sure if you've got a pointed top that you've formed the point before you cut it, because it may be difficult to form afterwards. And with this technique, you've got a definite right side on the front here where all the beads are showing, and a wrong side where you can just see the wire on the back. So be careful that you use the petal round the right way when you're assembling the flower. And that's your basic technique.